And welcome back to another Monday Night live stream. Actually, on Monday, because well, there's a concept. For those who don't know or who didn't see it, I did a impromptu live stream last Thursday. I had some free time. I hadn't streamed in quite a while, several weeks. So I figured I'd go live and just see what happens. So I think some of you were there. If you weren't, you didn't miss much. Gonna kind of recap some of the same stuff we talked about Thursday, today, potentially. Of course, this all depends on what questions and people who are here and where we go from there. So I put in the comments earlier that I think I fixed the audio. Uh, Basically, the bit rate was too low from what I was gathering for the audio. I upped it. The quality in testing seemed better, but please let me know. As usual, chat is messed up, but hey, whatever. In what has to be a first, Eric beat David, who is actually at an event. So that's why he wasn't here first. So congratulations to Eric for actually beating David. um, so I think I just mentioned basically I did a firmware update in this U-Ray encoder, which I know I need to get off of, but it's what I have for now. So basically, I did a firmware update in the U-Ray, and so there's a bunch more audio options, and I had it set for like 128. Why am I getting text messages from that person? That's weird. Anyway, so basically the bitrate was set for 128. I upped it, and all of a sudden audio was clean. Now I don't know if that's because the settings got reset or just the higher bit rate's what needed. I also lowered my video bit rate from I think 8 to 6, so my internet connection is not being maxed out as much. I'm guessing it's the bit rate issue. For the audio, the lower video bit rate, who knows? Either way, definitely does sound better. That is great. I am the broadcast engineer, yes. And the bottom part is no one knows I exist until I screw up. So I forget where I found the shirt, but it was perfect. No one knows I exist until I screw up, and then everyone knows because usually it's high profile. Nils is in the house. Welcome in. Nils gave me a couple ideas, basically on how to stream to the streaming bridge, which I think I put away via OBS. Not that I need to, but most of you probably know that at one point I kind of hacked OBS in order to work with the streaming bridge. I was hoping to get it to work with SRT, and Nils says his does work with SRT. Mine still does not work, even though I tried some of the settings that Nils gave me. I don't have an AMD chipset in that one, so I can't use their hardware encoder. So probably my issue, but hey, it doesn't need to work. I just liked the idea of doing it that way. So whatever, it didn't work, but we're good. Let me see here. Audio levels are good. Eric says he camped out. No, the shirt's not a reference from the fail stream. I've had this shirt for quite some time. I mean, probably at least 5 or 6 years, if I had to guess. 6 megabit rate for the stream is a good choice. Yeah, I mean, I think this is at 60 frames a second, though, honestly. Yes, OBS does support SRT streaming. Played it before. It does work. It's not exactly fast. Like, if you want... The whole idea behind SRT, at least the reason why I like it, is because it's very low latency and it's reliable. But in my experience with OBS, its SRT implementation, while it works, is definitely not low latency. So you could, of course, use OBS to stream SRT, but if you want, or if latency is a concern, then I would definitely not recommend OBS for well, anything, because I think OBS is very sluggish and slow to do most things. Uh, that being said, it's what you got, then that's what you got. I would have thought that, yeah, I mean, I actually did. I was telling Joe and Tony the other day, because we have a group chat. I said, I'm going to start making some shirts because I have a couple sayings that I really want to do. And I want to put on a shirt because I think it'd be cool to have some shirts. Uh, Also, a way to potentially make some money for this channel, so I can actually buy some gear. Um, Joe, who is surprisingly not here, was giving me a little bit of grief about the fact that I am a broadcast engineer, and these streams always seem to go wrong. And I just wanted to comment on that. I know he's not here, but I basically wanted to comment saying, when you are the talent, the producer, and essentially the engineer, but also the camera operator, audio, video engineer, graphics person, when you're everything for production, it's awfully hard to get it right. So while I do get it right at work almost every day, when I do it as a solo by myself, it's a lot to handle. And honestly, I don't have really any budget for this whole thing. So I do it on the cheap, and I understand that brings issues and it's going to bring issues. But most things have issues. I mean, most broadcasts have issues. Most whatever you have has some sort of complexity that basically indicates or leads to, I should say, a failure of some kind. So while I do wish these streams were problem free, I also think that's part of the, I don't know, I would say appeal. That's probably not the right word. But basically, that's part of the thing is these streams are done as cheap as possible with used gear because I hate throwing stuff away, and I also don't have a budget. So I just wanted to basically acknowledge that if I'm sorry, if these streams, fail, if you will, it's not because I'm not good at my job or that I'm not trying hard. It's just because this gear is not really very common to me. I don't really, I never really use half the stuff in my day job. I never use an mirrorless camera. I don't use Blackmagic switchers. We have a Stream Deck at work. I programmed it once or twice, but that's about it. So a lot of this stuff is not exactly commonplace to me. I don't use it very often, and so I just kind of wanted to acknowledge that. He's not wrong. They do this. I should spend some money on this stream and help it make be better. But until I'm monetized, I just kind of feel like it is what it is. So I hope that made sense to you guys. It just kind of I wanted to kind of get that off my chest this week. So let's check out the stream, see who's all here or still going. I think the SRT and OBS is 120 millisecond is traditional. I think, yes. I think OBS just, at least on the machine that I have, given it's not a powerful machine, just as sluggish. The transitions are slow. I just think everything about OBS is slow. Again, my machine's not exactly powerful, but I still think it could be better than what it is. But again, I just, So my JAU timer is actually broke. In my troubleshooting with OBS, I uninstalled OBS and reinstalled it, and it deleted all my scripts, or the script that runs the timer. So I can't do a JAU timer today. So I'm sorry. True. Doing it on the cheap has proven that I can do this on the cheap. I benefit a lot from things, good deals and friends who don't need stuff anymore. So, I mean, I guess that's part of being lucky. Jeremy is here. Welcome in, Jeremy. I commented earlier, Jeremy, that I kind of like your idea of doing a live stream and then hiding it. And then like repurposing that live stream for content. think that's kind of a great idea. I can't do that because I mean I would hurt my channel in terms of viewer watch hours. But if you could afford to hide your live streams and keep your watch hours up, then I would say absolutely do it. I thought it was a great idea. So for what that's worth, Jeremy been streaming Sunday nights at 9:45. I thought 9 o'clock was a late start. He's been going at 9:45, which more power to you. I actually have been joining them most of the time because by 9:45 things are winding down and I have, generally speaking, more free time. So I've been joining Jeremy over there. Make sure you do if you have the time. Yeah, Eric says, yeah, 9:45 is when Jeremy starts streaming on Sunday nights. At least that's what he has been doing. Eric says, I was fine watching the stream when it was still on the old Logitech webcam. Eyes are for it says a minimum viable product. Yeah. I mean, like I always said before about the 4K, you're not here to see me in 4K. I mean, there's no reason to see me in 4K. I think 720p works. This is now 1080p just because I have the stuff to make it do 1080p for now, for the time being, I should say. If my friend ever wants his camera back, then I may have to go back to 720. But for now, I can do 1080p. So, anyway, David says, looking through your channel, your trailer short is now 22,000 views. Yes. I actually have a couple videos that are up there. Let me call up my stats page. I have a bunch of videos that just still get quite a bit of hits, which is amazing. If I look at my all-time highest viewed content, my radio station tour is 49,000 views. My vMix trailer, like you said, is 22. My home server lab, which I believe is my first or second video when I actually started a channel, started actually publishing content. My home lab server video is at 10,000 views, which, is kind of crazy. And yeah, so, the radio station tour, the transmitter site tour, I should say, is the most popular video by far. Still gets comments, I want to say, every other day, maybe every 3 days. Somebody comments on it, asks a question. A couple people think that they're, experts in the world of transmitters and whatnot and want to know why it's not sparkly clean. And it's like, it's a transmitter site in a field where there's literally light shining through the roof. Like, there's no way to keep this site spotless. It cannot be done with the current setup. I have a transmitter site that is spotless, but that's not the same site. It's a different building. It has 2 air conditioning units. It's fully enclosed, whereas the radio station site is not. So it's not going to be clean. It can't be clean the way it is built. So sorry for those people who want an absolutely clean transmitter site. It's just not going to happen. At least not there. But anyway, that video is very popular. My vMix trailer is very popular, which I was surprised by. My Livewire videos, I did a video on a Livewire setup at the college radio station, and it's got some decent views, probably because the word Livewire is in it. But speaking of a home lab stuff, because my home lab server video and whatnot, I actually did, sorry about that. I just did, last night, we had some free time, so we just went in there last night and kind of tackled the basement. So that room over there, which is the storage room, where the hot water tank was and leaked. If you want to hear that story, go back to my Thursday stream. But basically the water water heater tank, if you will, leaked, caused the flood in the basement. Then that led to my whole week of being sick. So, but that room is now like really cleaned up. So there's a couple things left down here that need to be put in that room and organized. But then, basically now my wall of technology I can actually get to. Prior to yesterday, you could barely get to the wall of tech. And so now I have the ability to get to the wall in tech and get all around it. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. I'm going to remove some stuff that was kind of just thrown in there, and then hopefully make some more stuff like permanent. And then therefore, I'm going to do a video on my updated home lab, and go through what I do for routing, switching, virtualization, and backup. And I just want to show the whole thing again. Home lab videos do really well on YouTube. So selfishly, I could use the hits or the views. Um, but it's been almost 2 years, if not more than 2 years, since I did a video in there. And so I feel like it's time to update that video. I have a couple ideas on what to do for a backup server. I currently don't have a backup server for any of my data, and that's not a good thing as an IT person. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do for that. I have an idea. Those who've watched my channel for a long time can probably figure out what I'm going to do as a backup server, but we'll see. Anyway, going back to the chat, let's see what else is here. Nell says, "I like streaming with cheap and unusual gear." Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thought process I have too. Is like, okay, what works and what can I put together to make work? So Jeremy says that he picked 9:45 because StreamYard founders do a half-hour stream. Yes, that's right. Yes, FM radio stations almost 50K. There should be a whole genre of 720p programs. I like the idea. Welcome, Habib, I think is how you pronounce your name. Can I rely on a vMix program to cover a match and broadcast it professionally? Yes. I mean, yes, you absolutely can use vMix to cover a match and broadcast it. I know Tech Condo uses vMix professionally on air, like at his or their TV stations. I'm not quite sure how that whole thing works over there, but he often describes how he uses vMix with the TV stations. We use vMix constantly for sports, and we stream with it all the time. We discussed on this channel previously the issues you have with vMix, but if you're willing to overcome the issues with vMix, like you have a powerful enough computer, you have a backup plan in case it crashes, you do all that stuff, you can absolutely use vMix to broadcast anything really. It kind of depends on what you want to do. There's obviously limitations to how many PCI cards you can put in a computer. But yeah, you could totally do it. The one thing I will say about vMix that I thought was interesting, I guess vMix 27, right? 27? Yes, I think it's 27, has the ability to do Zoom integrated, which I think is really cool. Where was that 2 years ago? Would have loved to have that 2 years ago. And then vMix now can output four has four outputs instead of two. Two is usually good enough for most things that I did. Four is obviously better. And that basically happens when you do like a program stream. You probably have a multi-viewer, but now vMix has like several multi-viewers, and so the ability to pull those out and have those as dedicated feeds, like say program, main multi-viewer, replay multi-viewer, and then maybe a clean feed or a aux out for like a prompter or whatever it is. I think that's amazing. I think that's very good for vMix to go to that road. They definitely are making improvements to their product constantly. If I wanted a subscription service, I probably would have done vMix for this stream. It'd be perfect for this stream. Probably better in a lot of ways, but I also don't want to pay a constant $50 a month for vMix. So maybe if I get monetized, I revisit that. We'll see. Eric says, good recovery on the hot water thing. Oh my God, that thing was such a mess. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole story again about the water heater, but basically go back to Thursday's stream. Um, but yes, water heater was not fun. I Basements and water have always concerned me. This house has had two incidences now with water in the basement. One was where it was actually like 6 inches tall, and we lost a lot of stuff. This one, luckily, was very small, but still not a big fan of basements and water. Zoom integration, definitely a big jump forward. Yes, I would have loved to have Zoom integration into vMix 2 years ago, or actually it was 3 years ago now, when we were doing our YouTube streams of football games, because we had to bring a guy on site to do commentary. And basically, I would have loved to just have him stay at home, and we could have had him zoom in, watch the broadcast, and comment on the stream, all natively built in the app, instead of having to make him drive. I don't know what he drove, but he drove some ways to these events. I mean, and while I always love to have the talent and everyone on site during COVID, when that wasn't really suggested at the time, uh, could have simplified some things on our end. Um, just having to have one less person on site, and we could have brought in, uh, guest people. We could have had each week a different person join, or we could have done interviews during halftime with people from Zoom. I would have loved to have that feature built in back then. Yeah, 8 cameras for vMix seems like a lot. I would just make sure you have a very powerful PC. Um, it's totally doable. I mean, vMix can support, I think, I want to say 1,000 sources. It's something crazy. Um, yes, but you could absolutely do that. That would be no problem at all. Um, just make sure your PC is very powerful. That's what I would say. Make sure you have a very, very good PC for covering that, especially if you want to do replay with all 8 of those cameras. You definitely need some horsepower to do replay with 8 cameras. But yeah, that's completely doable. No problem there. So, um, speaking of doing matches and replay and cameras, let's talk about my latest gigs, if you will. Um, Gigs, freelance jobs, whatever you want to call them. I call them gigs, but hey, whatever. Um, so this will probably be a recap for those who were here Thursday, but I wanted to kind of just get into it a little bit more and let you know about what I'm doing next week, or I should say this week. So um, let's take a look at the first picture. Oopsie. Need to change sources. And I need to find. All right, so here we go. So this was this was last week's game. This is a high school, um, and basically, oopsie, I need to bring that down. Uh, this we were at. This is the truck we were in. This is a pretty cool truck here. It's a unibody truck, so there's no expanding or whatever. But behind that guy where he's standing, are all the yellow jackets. And up there on, behind the cab is actually a generator, it's an onboard generator with yellow jackets. On the other side, there's a bunch of orange cones. It was a very efficient carry stuff without having to have a second vehicle. Um, And so, uh, one of the things with these trucks, and this is philosophical kind of conversation about trucks and whatnot. Most people like the big trucks because it's one truck, it carries all the gear, it can go anywhere, it can do things, it's self-sufficient in essence. But doesn't have any power. Usually the big trucks don't have power on board. However, if you look at this truck, It's small. It's designed to go places maybe the big trucks can't, like a high school stadium. It has its own generator because generally speaking, at the lower level, you don't have power provided to you. You can't plug in a 50-foot, 53-foot long trailer and get 200 amps of power. Um, so these little trucks that are designed to do high school and college football kind of have to be smaller to fit in these places and usually require a second vehicle to carry the equipment. Wait, I'm dropping packets? Am I really? Um, Interesting. What time was that? It says stream is healthy. Oh, warning, the stream rate dropped. Oh, yeah. Stream rate dropped because of the slideshow. Yep, that's interesting. Okay, well, we'll try to go through faster. So, um, so basically, here's the truck, and then the front part, standing is a control room, and the back part is like the replay booth. So audio is kind of in the middle. Here's a completely analog audio board I thought was very interesting. Allen and Heath makes a great board, very easy to use, very reliable from what I've been told. Pretty good stuff. So this is an all board, which is the first time running audio I liked. It's very easy to look at things and see how things are routed, see how things, live flow through the board, and so analog just makes things easier. We'll just say that. Overhead, there was the I call it a fly bridge. I don't really think it's called a fly bridge, but it kind of seems like it is. It's where all the equipment is for compressor, intercoms, and all kinds of stuff. Any questions about this stuff in particular, please let me know. Comment. I would love to be able to the things that are in these pictures. This is the back of the unit, which I thought was a pretty interesting. This is not actually the worst wiring job I've ever seen. It could use a cleanup, but it's not the worst thing ever. So, Nils, question. I think I have one. No, I don't. Where's it at? Do I have the picture? Hold on a second. Picture. Where's the picture? So this is what we use for embedding, from what I'm understood. So the audio comes into an Aja frame sync. In this case, it's an Aja FS2. And then in the frame sync, or the FS basically, in the Aja, the audio is combined with the video, and the Aja has the ability to delay the audio quite a bit, or it actually can do negative. It can actually delay the video a little bit if your audio is ahead of your video, which usually it's not. The audio is almost always ahead of video, so you're almost always delaying the audio. But if for some reason your audio was behind, the frame sync, or the FS2 in this case, could actually do negative audio. Like, it can actually delay the video a little bit, should you need to, which sounds weird, and I've never seen that scenario, but in theory it could. So they have, I believe there's 2 FS2s on this truck. And I think this is what was doing the audio processing. I don't have the other pictures. I think that's what was doing the embedding, if I'm not mistaken. Here's a picture of replay world and shading. I don't have a picture. Yeah, I don't have a picture of the rack as a whole. Or do I? Let me go check my other folders, because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Um, I do have a picture of the rack. So here's the rack of equipment. So yeah, I think that was the only way or only place I think audio and video could get together. Or probably looks like there's another FS1 up there. I bet you that's what it is. I bet you if you look at this picture about halfway down below the LCD monitors, there's another FS1, looks like. Or sorry, there's an actual FS1. I bet you that's where it's happening, in that FS1, because there's the FS2, which has two separate boxes, but then eliminates some of the ins and outs that you have on an FS1. An FS1 has like two outputs of the same stream, or selectable, I think. So I would use an FS1 if we're merging two things together and I want to have full feature, multiple ins and outs. An FS2 is literally more like just a frame sync where you're basically bringing in video and you're aligning it to a certain reference point. We actually use, at the station, we use 8 FS1s. 7 of them are used to simply de-embed audio from the SDI signal and then feed it to our audio board. And then we use one FS1 to take the audio board output and put it back onto the video for distribution around the facility. So I love FS1s. FS2s are better, at least from an economical standpoint, because they're like $1,000 more, but they offer 2 instead of 1. So pretty good price for return. So let's go back to the pictures. So there's that rack, like I said. Oh, I should probably check out chat before I get too far, because you don't want to. The Aja unit makes sense. Audio is mixed and analog is then combined with the vision. Yes. Okay. So if we look back at the pictures. Sorry, I'm going back to my ATEM software control. This was the control room, if you will. This is the front bench where the director sits. This was my view of the game. Basically, looking at 2 monitors. A producer and bug operator are sitting there in the window. So that was Friday. And so, my battery's dying again. Well, that sucks. I just charged this battery too. Wow, that's not good. Alrighty. Well, I guess I have to, yeah, the little fast food window. Well, I could do this. I did come up with a backup plan. It's not going to look very good, but I do have the ability to do this, which is my webcam attached to the monitor, because in case the camera died, I'm sure the lip sync is way, way off right now. But I have that option should I decide to use it. You know what I got to do? I just got to go buy a power supply for this camera, because obviously charging these batteries are not going to work. The first time I did it, I went like an hour and the battery was fine, but apparently doesn't like these batteries or doesn't like these charges I'm giving it. I don't know what's wrong. So let's see if I can squeeze in some more pictures before it dies. But basically, I did a second gig the other day, and it was on a cool truck. This is what the truck looked like. It was a Ando little short unit, which was pretty cool. This was the engineering area, which I thought was amazing. Lots of stuff being squeezed in. The camera needs a JU extension. That's a good one, Nils. That's a good one. Hey, David, welcome in. We're just going over some pictures of gigs that I've done, and my battery's dying. So, I mean, I could do this on camera. If you don't actually want to see me, I could do all this. We'll just do it that way. So let me load up some pictures. Let me load these pictures up here for a second. So, yep. Yep. Oh, that's called showing. um, keep loading some pictures up here. I like the A10 minis, the ability to do pictures like a actual slideshow, or not a slideshow, but store the pictures in here. But I don't like how very few pictures it'll let you bring in. I mean, it only does 20 pictures or so, which overall is good. I'm just saying I wish it was better. Uh, duh, 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 duh. I know what that picture is. Oh yeah, I know what it is. All right, so like I said, this is the truck. Um, yeah, save the potato can for later. Yeah, that's a good one there, Eric. All right, so like I said, so this is my last gig. It was in a truck like this. Um, the truck had a storage bed for storing, cables. Uh, Underneath that door, behind the cart was the generator, and then behind the door above the cart is actually where the audio cables are stored, which is actually inside, which I thought was a very interesting way to do it. Um, I don't know if I would design a truck that way, but that's what they did, which that's pretty cool. There you see doors. So the double doors are the back of the racks. So um, there was no need to open the doors, so I don't have a picture of what the racks look like from behind. But I thought that was a really cool way to build a truck, which is to have doors on the side with the racks the way it was facing. Again, David, since you just joined, you see this, but this is what the actual racks were of all the equipment inside. Um, so let's see here. What else? That's the outside. What we had to do was run cables. I thought this was a pretty cool way. We flew the cable back of the truck to the bleachers by basically just having a rope drop down. It picked the cables, got them off the ground, and therefore there was no need for yellow jackets. Very clever way to do wires safely is fly them. Definitely worth the time and energy to fly the cables because you don't want people tripping. I mean, definitely don't want people tripping. That's very bad. I actually know a guy who was not careful, and a woman fell because she tripped on a cable, and she sued and she won. Well, her family sued because I believe she'd passed away, unfortunately. But they sued and won. So you definitely need to be careful when running your cables. So, uh, is it a special vehicle or does every truck have a number on its door? I'm not sure what you're referring to. The door? Every truck in America has to have identification number if you have a CDL or commercial driver's license, and this truck requires a commercial driver's license, so the truck has to have a number on it if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, you don't want to do tripping hazards. You really, really need to be careful when you're doing cables. You'll notice in these pictures, we have caution tape out wherever our stuff is. I mean, A, to keep people out from just kind of walking around, but also behind the caution tape, there's a bunch of wires on the ground. They're not covered. They're in an area where we're walking, therefore, we're assuming the risk of tripping. the public does not want to assume that risk. So we have caution tape put out and basically telling the public, do not walk behind here. You will be at fault if you fall because you were warned. And that's what yellow jackets are good for. That's what flying these cables are good for. You get the cables out of the people's way. That's the most important thing. You do not want people to trip. They will see you, and it's just not a good situation. Yes, in this picture, Eric, the rope is holding a lot of the weight. These are not heavy cables. I believe it was one camera cable and two microphones, maybe. Um, and my camera just officially died. I just heard it close. So 40 minutes. Interesting. Actually, more like 50 minutes. Yes, so I thought it was really cool. I'd never seen it done this way before, so that's why I took a picture. So what we had to do for this show was we had to fly cables up to the press box. So here you can see, I'll move the. Here you can see the cables flying just basically straight up. So the cameras are perched on top of the press box. There was a big, nice, very secure area to put cameras. In terms of press boxes, this was one of the nicer ones I've seen because there was actually a camera perch up top. There was a decent stairwell going upstairs as opposed to a straight climb ladder. This was actually a stairwell where with rails. So that was really nice to just be able to get up there. We had our own room for the talent, which was great. There was power everywhere. And then the trucks could basically park below the thing. So the cable run was very short, which, let me tell you, after a long day, you appreciate a very short cable run. So let me look at some more pictures that might be of interest to you guys. I tend to take way too many pictures on these remotes, so what I find interesting may not be of interest to everybody else. So oh, here's one you guys will like. So speaking of, here's the in that storage bay. This was the cleanest generator I've ever seen on a truck that goes down the road. Our trucks do not have generators that are this clean. I mean, absolutely not. So how they keep this generator this clean is beyond me. I do not understand, but they do a great job. When it comes to a straight climb ladder, yes, I have no problem with straight climb ladders. One of our old sites used to have a 2-story tall, actually probably like a half-story tall, straight climb ladder up to the roof. That was interesting. I did it, never really loved it, but you don't really want to do a straight climb ladder if you don't have to. We'll just say that. So the fact that it actually had a regular ladder, I thought was great. This is the front row. Let me take sorry, wrong picture. This is the front row of the they call the P1 bench. So you have 4 multi-viewers actually, and then there's the big switcher. The switcher is a Cayenne from Grass Valley. Very nice switcher. In terms of routing, it had an Evertz Xeon router. Very, very end. Very nice, definitely. For cameras, it had they used Sony cameras, which was the first time I ever used Sony cameras. They were nice. Camera control unit Sony cameras. My job was video, aka shading. And so my job was to control the color of every camera. I will admit, when you started, I was very nervous. I mean, very nervous, because I'd never done it before. I mean, I've worked with cameras before, but it's been quite a long time since I actually had to shade a camera. And sorry, my going for a second. Sorry. So my job was to run these camera control units, and basically iris the cameras, make sure the white balance was correct, and adjust the colors. Because even though you have three of the same color or three of the same cameras, each camera I think had a different lens. So while they looked very similar when you did a white balance, camera two, if I'm mistaken, was a little bit different than camera one, and often they had very similar dots. So I had to color camera two to match camera one, or vice versa. But that's what I did. I made camera two match camera one. Camera one had the wide shot of the whole, football field basically, and then camera two was these, close-up shot of an individual player. And I just thought it was easier to make camera two match camera one, so that's what I had to do. And like I said, the game started off brightly sunny, and then of course went to so of course in the daytime you're at one iris level, things look a certain way, and then as the sun sets you get shadows, and then you get an orange color on a lot of things, and then as the sun goes away you have the light stadium, and that changes. So we white balanced at the start of the show. We had to white balance at halftime because obviously at halftime it's dark, at least here in most of America. Uh, by the time you get to halftime, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, and time of the year that's pitch black outside. So yeah, so that's what we were basically my job was, and so by the time white balanced at the halftime, the second half of the game was so much nicer. We didn't have to adjust the iris as much. Still adjust it here and there, but it wasn't like a constant every time you take a different camera, you adjust the iris. I could actually kind of sit back and just, do a lot more, say, calmly. Eric's likes the P1 bench. Yes. Yeah, I mean the different glass, different they call it glass instead of lenses, but the different glass. I mean, got one camera one had a ENG style small lens. Camera two had a big camera lens. Um, do I still have the pictures from last week? I could go get them up. I mean, this is a picture from last week. When you use those kind of lenses versus a standard lens, things are going to look a little bit different. Also, the age of the camera. I mean, each camera wasn't purchased at the same time. Or, I mean, maybe it was, but maybe one placed. So, a newer camera, one that's been used more, there's lots of things that factor into this. And so, you just don't have the same look and feel of every camera. You have to paint them, as they call it, or color the camera so they match. Um, so this was my view during the game. Basically, I had a nice high quality monitor down in the left hand corner. I had all four cameras. We actually had four cameras. Um, we had four cameras, but one was just used for like stand up. So basically, we had three cameras that were actually shooting the game. Then you had a fourth camera that for the stand up location, and then you have more multi viewers that you put sources into. Hello from Puerto Rico. Welcome in. I feel like you've been here before, but if not, welcome in. So let's see here. What other are we looking for picture wise? So they have a bunch of these converters. So instead of using the Aja's like the frame sinks the previous camera used, or sorry, the other truck used FS1s or FS2s. This truck used Harris converters, basically do the same thing, but if I'm not mistaken, these ones cost a lot more. um, older. So here, what other pictures can I show you? Um, wrong folder. And for those wondering, my camera died, so I can't show it right now. Oh, so this was replay. This is the replay area of the truck. This truck actually has two different kinds of units. It has a Z play, and then it has a uh, an EVS unit, which is the high end. Like EVS is professional, like all the way. So let me find a picture of that because I know I have one in here. So this is a picture of the EVS boxes that they use, and all the big trucks use EVS units. See a EVS unit on a small truck, I was very impressed with for sure because you don't typically see that. Oops. So here's electrical panel. That was interesting. It's right next to where I was sitting. Um, Here is audio. They use a Yamaha C5, if I'm not mistaken. Um, they use a Yamaha board instead of the analog Allen and Heath. This audio board, this audio room, I should say, is much smaller than the audio room from the other truck. They, of course, use live view as well. That's and then kind of want to just show you. This is kind of the I/O panel, uh, the truck, where all the video connections come into and audio connections, and this got filled up awfully quick. I did not realize how many connections we'd be making for a show like this. The truck, like I said, had a generator built on board, so we there was also power. This was one of the bays. This is another bay. So here you can kind of see where you could plug in street power, had power, or in this case, you just switch the generator and then you have power for the generator. Any questions before I get going? We're almost to 1 JAU. Which is good. Is it Noel? Oh no, it's probably not. I'm probably butchering your name. I'm so sorry. Noel. I'm guessing it's Noel. I worked from 86 to 96. The broadcast unit was Sony 3/4 inch. Yes, we actually are going through a bunch of our archival tapes and a bunch of 3/4 inch machines. We actually just bought a used but rebuilt virtual. Oh my God, it's getting late. We just bought used 3/4 inch machines that were rebuilt by an engineer out in was it California? I think it was. Because we're going through and kind of bringing back a bunch of our archive material and putting it on our YouTube page and whatnot. So we're going through a bunch of 3/4 inch machines. We just resurrected a 1 inch machine. We had one, it still worked. Well, we finally just pulled it out and put it into our little room for archiving stuff. So we now have the ability to do 1 inch, 3/4 inch, beta, and DVC Pro we can pull video off of, and then digitize it, and then use it for whatever we want these days. It's part of our archive project. There's one guy at work who's responsible for it. He's doing it almost daily. He's pulling video off of this tape or these tapes, and putting it on our website or whatever it is. So yeah, we definitely are using 3/4 to this day and age, not for obviously shooting, but for just retrieval. We have a lot of stories on 3/4, and so it's nice to be able to go get those and digitize them, and so we have them going forward. Um, so this truck definitely has some nice, very choice gear. Yes, this truck is very impressive. I will say that. Very cool truck. Lots of cool decisions made in terms of the design, in terms of the layout. It's not a very typical layout for a truck. I will give you I'll say that, but it was definitely. If I had to build one today, if I could build one today, I should say, I would highly, highly look at this design, uh, and I'd probably replicate it in a lot of ways. I definitely think it has a lot of cool features, um, and just basically was really cool in how they did it. So I can't show you that picture because people's faces are in it. Just looking for any pictures I haven't shown you guys yet that might be of interest. That's got an IP address on it. That's got a phone number on it. Oh, here's one. This was actually mentioned in the Aaron Precky Discord because I posted a picture. I think I posted this picture. Where did I lost it? Oh boy. Sorry, I'm looking for this picture. I keep losing. So the one thing I've seen in every single production truck for the last 10 years is this tally system interface. And the only thing I can think about that this thing does, because I actually don't fully know what it does, but the only thing I can think about it that it does is that in a lot of these trucks, you can have red tally, green tally, or is it yellow or orange? And basically the cameras can do different color tally. And to do that, you basically have to have the inputs from two different switchers. So like let's say you're doing a show where you're doing two different shows, but you're using the same cameras. And so you have, let's say, 8 cameras, but they're feeding two different switchers. And so you have like the home show and the away show. And the home show, you might have your regular red and green tally lights. And then the away show, you'd have your, let's say your red and green tally lights. But how do you know that the other show is on a camera since you don't have it in program or preview? Well, that's where a system like this comes in handy, from what I understand. This will take the inputs from both camera or both switchers, and then will kind of let you know, like, hey, via an orange tally, that maybe that you're on, or the other show, I should say, like the away show is on camera 3, the main show is on camera 2, but the main show is going to camera 1. But this system will allow you to see that camera 3 is tallied, and therefore the other show is using camera 3. Or maybe when you both take camera 1, it goes yellow or whatever it is. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but this tally system thing has got me interested. I keep meaning to go learn more about it because every truck has one of these things, and I just don't know what they use it for entirely because we've never used this in news. I've never seen this in a TV station ever. I only ever see it in a sports vehicle or sports truck. So um, just throwing it out there. So we are now at 1 JAU. Not that my JAU counter works. And so I am basically going to wrap it up here unless you have any questions. I will definitely work on a way to get power into this camera for next time and not use batteries, since apparently the batteries don't last more than a half hour, which is annoying. They're fully charged, so I don't know why they just don't last more than a half hour. Um, so anyway, so let me just say goodbye. I want to thank you all for being here. I know the lip sync's soft, but we'll fix it next time. And so I want to thank you all for being here, and you all have a good night. Oops. Why can't I take this? Oh, yeah, because I got to take this off. There you go. uh, thank you guys. Have a good night.